One plant that a lot of people have in their gardens or landscapes throughout Oklahoma are iris. The plants are tough, they're fairly easy to grow, and they are beautiful. Well, we thought we would bring you a show completely about iris today on Oklahoma Gardening. So we've traveled to a small community outside of Stillwater called Glenco to visit with Ann Barows. Hello, Ann.
Hello.
Welcome to our program.
Well, welcome to my garden.
Well, thank you very much. And we were going to do this a year ago. We were getting ready to come out here and shoot a program on iris, but we weren't able to do it because we had a terrible hailstorm. And the iris just didn't look worth presenting last year. Is that right?
That is right. We came out and could not find a single undamaged stalk that wasn't either cut to ribbons or on the ground.
Okay, awful hailstorm. But this year things look a lot better, and the garden is absolutely beautiful, and can't wait to look at all the iris that you have. Well, and how many different types of iris do you have here?
I have over 1,500 varieties, and I have at least 7 types of iris.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a few. Absolutely.
It is.
How long have you been growing iris?
About 20 years.
Okay. And how did you get started?
Well, my husband gave me a membership in the American Iris Society before I ever grew an iris. And it was another 3 years before I joined an iris club and really even went to an iris show and learned anything much about them. It's been a real fun time.
Okay, and it's just kind of snowballed from there, huh?
I go to judging schools every year, and I'm an American Iris Society judge, and I like to hybridize.
Okay, and I can tell you really like growing these plants.
I do.
Well, and when it comes to iris, you know, we hear people all the time talk about iris that have beards, the bearded iris, or sometimes the beardless iris. And I was wondering if you would just show us, you know, where is the beard on an iris, or one that has a beard, and maybe some of the other parts of an iris. I'll hold that for you.
This is a bearded iris.
Okay.
Tall bearded is the most common iris grown in the United States.
And where is the beard?
This is the beard.
Okay.
Right there. As you can see, it's a very noticeable projection, and it doesn't seem to have much purpose. They think originally it may have been on the plant to attract insects so that it would be pollinized and the species would continue.
Okay, but it's not really a reproductive.
It has nothing to do with anything other than being an unusual part of a flower.
Okay.
And as you can see in this one, it's colorful.
Okay. And the other parts?
Okay. These are called falls.
Okay.
And there's 3 on each iris. That is where you'll find the beard. And you can see the beard is really deep in the throat.
The beard is in the center of the falls.
And these are called half marks, those little lines. Okay. Hybridizers spent years getting rid of them, and now they're bringing them back.
Okay, in various colors and
various colors
patterns
and intensities.
Okay.
This is called lacing.
That ruffling.
And, the notching, which is some part would call picotis. This is the ruffling, the waving back and forth, and the notched edges are lacing.
Okay.
These 3 things left here are standards.
Okay, so the standards and the falls are some of the main parts.
The 3 upright parts, the 3 that go down are falls. The 3 that go upright are standards.
Gotcha.
And this is a bud.
Okay.
And now we're down to the part of the iris that hybridizers look at.
Okay.
This is a style arm.
Style arms, okay.
And the bottom side of the style arm is a little groove. Right there.
Okay.
It's called a stigmatic lip. And that is where the pollen goes. The pollen comes from whatever flower you're using, and it's this little projection right here.
Those are the anthers?
That's the pollen anther. And I think you can even see the pollen on this, the little dust.
Mm-hmm.
And then hybridizer usually uses tweezers or some other thing and brushes it into the stigmatic lip.
Okay, is a little bit sticky right there.
Mm-hmm.
Holds that pollen.
Should have moisture. If it doesn't, it's past. And the time slot on an iris is not very long.
Sure.
It's about 6 to 10 hours.
Okay.
Good. And if you have moisture, forget it. Pollen melts in the moisture, and it's done. If you even have a heavy fog after you've pollinized, it's not going to work. So usually from 10 o'clock in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon are the ideal times for doing this.
For pollinating iris. Right here in the vase we've got some iris that have been around for a while. Is that right?
Very much so. This is the iris. It's a species that we know as orris root. That is dry. The root is dried and it is grated and used as a fixative in sachets and perfumes and things. It's a big industry in Italy where it originated.
Interesting. And this particular species of iris would be known as the German iris?
Yes.
Okay, Iris germanica. Okay,
And this
so
is
very old species
this
iris
is
here.
one of the older registered iris from France around the turn of the century. It's Madame Chirot. And you can see iris have got much bigger and much fancier through the work of hybridizers.
Absolutely, these are fairly small compared with some of these other huge
No
iris
ruffles and lace
that we see around here.
and not as much body. The flowers don't last as long during the day.
So that we've greatly improved them over the years.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's go look at some of your other iris plants.
Okay.
And whenever we talk about growing iris, they're really pretty easy to grow, right?
Very easy.
Okay, and they're going to do best out in full sun,
Yes.
but they will grow in a little bit of shade.
They need about 6 hours of good sun. If you're going to shade them at all, have it the hot afternoon sun off of them, but they do okay in full sun.
Okay, and when it comes to soil, they're not particularly picky, maybe not extremely heavy clay.
Well, they'll grow in any kind of soil, I believe,
Okay.
except damp soil. They don't
Okay.
want to. They do not want any area that holds standing water.
A low wet spot.
If you have really, they don't like muck either. but
Sure.
but anything that is normal soil that they do well in, and they're not unusually greedy. A little fertilizer twice a year is good for them, but it doesn't have to be that often. And ideal time is right after bloom time because they're going to put on their spurt of growth. Then they go dormant in the summer, and then in the fall, if you're going to fertilize them again, fertilize them right around February.
Okay.
Before
And-
they've really started growth again.
And is it generally the people who like to do a lot of the iris shows who will fertilize and
Yes, most people that do shows fertilize fairly regularly, but I've gone as much as 4 years without fertilizing, and you can see it. The flower gets a little smaller, but it doesn't seem to hurt a whole lot. And
Okay.
if it's convenient, I fertilize. If it's not, I don't.
Okay. Well, Ann, I know I've grown some iris in some of my beds at home where I have some of my other typical landscape plants. I have these beds with a lot of compost and organic matter, and I water those beds in the summertime, and I've actually had a few of my iris plants start to rot a little bit. So
In Oklahoma, that's the main problem people have with iris is standing water or dampness, particularly after it gets warm. While they can be watered, you shouldn't get it on the foliage if you can help it. In other words, if you have a soaker hose, it's better than a
irrigation.
sprinkler.
Okay.
And you really don't have to water iris unless you're interested in a lot of rebloom.
Okay.
Now, a reblooming iris, if you want it to bloom in the fall, you should treat just about like a rose bush, but with a soaker hose, not overhead watering.
Okay.
And they don't want mulch. Don't ever mulch an iris.
Okay. So
And if there's a lot of dead leaves and brush, pull it away, particularly if it's going to be damp, because that's where your rot will start. And rot is really one of the few problems we have with iris in Oklahoma.
Okay, so what I should probably do is take my iris and put them in a spot in my landscape where I'm not irrigating in the summertime, because I guess a lot of the drier areas are...
Either that or plant it on a hill or a ridge where
Okay.
the water drains away.
Okay, and no mulch. That's interesting. Okay.
They are very hardy plants.
Okay. Well, iris, after they've been in one spot for a while, they start to grow and divide, or excuse me, they start to multiply, and we need to periodically come in and divide them. And there's a particular time of the year we do that.
Yes, iris go dormant when the weather gets hot. they're a little different than the average plant. They are the most dormant when we've got temperature over 95 degrees. Some varieties, the foliage will almost die back, but most of them don't. They retain a little foliage, but they are dormant at that point. And so when you get an iris catalog, they'll say they ship in July and August. That's a little bit early for our heat. End of August into September is a little bit better.
Better time to order them.
If you're going to order plants and get them early, put them in a pot in a shaded spot until we get nights below 75 degrees.
Okay, so early, mid-September.
Yeah, mid-September is wonderful to plant iris. They seem to do best, and you seem to be more likely to get a bloom the next year if they're planted at that time. Earlier than that, the plant will live, but it's setting out there at 100 degrees being cooked.
Sure. Not storing any
And even if
carbohydrates.
they'll say, well, I watered it. All you did is steamed it.
Yeah, there you go.
If it's not going to start growing, there's no point in putting it in the
Sure.
ground. As I say, I put mine in pots
Okay.
with a name tag, and then
Plant them later in the fall.
And when I have time, I have a few that weren't planted from last year.
Okay, I know how that goes. Well, so if we go to an iris sale, an iris rhizome sale, say in July, so that'd be a good thing to do. Just take those and put them in a pot. Well, you were telling me earlier about a condition called bloom out, and there's a particular thing you look for when you're buying those iris rhizomes to keep that from happening.
Yes, ideally, you should be able to see where the new growth is starting on the iris rhizome. Here are some from last year. This is the rhizome that bloomed last year. Right there's where the bloom stalk was.
Mm-hmm.
Then after it bloomed, it put on a rhizome here and a rhizome here.
Because this part dies after
That
it blooms.
part dies.
That
And by
portion of the
next year,
rhizome.
this will be completely rotted out, totally.
Mhm.
This right here will be another rhizome,
That little bump.
that little bump,
Okay.
and there's a little bump right there.
What do you have a specific term
It's
for
called
that?
an increase.
Okay, iris increase, those little
Uh-huh.
little bumps there. all right.
And you can see in this one, they normally start at the back of the rhizome. There's one right in that little lump right there, and there's one there, there's one here, and there's one here.
Okay.
But a rhizome only blooms one time and then it dies.
Okay.
If it has not put on any new growth, it all dies.
So if you buy a rhizome and you don't have any of those little increase bumps on there, and the plant could grow.
It might increase
bloom.
and it might not.
Okay. And you've got an example in the
I
garden.
have a beautiful example of an iris I'm afraid I'm going to lose this year.
Okay. Just no offsets, no
No.
increase to keep
If
it growing.
You should, and it can happen on established clumps. If you have a bloom stalk for every set of fan leaves you have, you're in danger of bloom out.
Okay. Interesting.
It-
All right.
And it doesn't happen real often, but I had one several years ago that went 2 years without blooming, and then it gave me 17 bloom stalks and died.
Just bloomed itself to death.
Just bloomed itself to death.
Okay, so remember that when you look for those rhizomes, make sure you have those little increase nubs or little increase bumps. And there are lots of different types of iris. The Siberians, the Japanese iris, some of those, of course, are going to be blooming later, so we can't take a look at them today. But even among the bearded iris, there are lots of different sizes, and they bloom at different times of the year. Is that correct?
Yes. Your first to bloom are your miniature dwarf iris. They'll be 8 inches tall or less, and they're ideal for rock gardens.
Okay.
They originated in the mountains, so they take cold weather, and they're very small, as you can imagine, being less than 8 inches tall. Even the flower is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches at most. But they bloom. My first one opened February 28th.
Wow, that is early. And those have pretty much
They're
finished
done.
this time of the year.
You figure 10 days to 2 weeks bloom out of most irises. Reblooming iris will give you a little bit longer, but 10 days to 2 weeks. The warmer it is, the shorter your bloom time.
Okay.
The cooler nights you've got and the less wind you've got, the longer your bloom season.
Okay.
And the next one to bloom are your standard dwarf. And they are just about finished. And this is my favorite
Okay.
size because it's an intermediate. It blooms in between the tall bearded and the dwarf.
Okay, and the tall bearded is what most people have. They're the
It is
latest
the most
to
popular
bloom.
iris in the United States,
far
and
as
there's
the
more of
bearded.
them than anything else.
Okay.
But I think one of the people don't know of this class, or they'd like it better. It can get up to 27 inches tall, so it isn't something that you don't see. It gives you a lot of color, and it stands up to the winds. We've had 60-mile-an-hour winds through here, and some of the bloom stalks on the tall bearded are over or down, and you won't find a single stalk down.
These are truly
intermediates.
attractive. Again, the intermediate bearded, kind of that category in between the dwarf and the tall, or one of the categories, I
Yeah,
guess. And yeah, just lots of buds, lots of color. What's the name of this one?
This one is CJ.
CJ. Okay, very attractive.
And this is Ask Alma.
Okay,
and-
nice peachy color there.
And it's a heavy bloomer. It's on a, it's about finished, but it's been blooming now over 8 days, and so it gives you lots of color.
Okay, I love that size.
And,
I
my
think you're
granddaughter
right.
loves to cut them for floral arrangements because they're not so top heavy as the tall bearded are to try to arrange. And this is levity.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I do. I really like that height, and
It
I think
holds
you're right.
up to our winds.
I think a lot of people don't realize that the beardeds come in
It's
this size.
It's ideal to put in the front of a border if you have a lot of tall plants. But if you have a lot of small plants, this is nice in the back. And I always, when I plant my beds, I plant a dwarf at the end because nothing's going to hurt it. It's short. And I'll plant 1 to 3 dwarfs, and then I'll go to this size. Then I go to the tall bearded, and it just kind of progresses up, and the wind doesn't damage them, and animals don't seem to bother them as much, like breaking bloom stalks off and things. Or even the kids don't, because there's already plants there to stop them.
Sure.
And I have a lot of kids come through here, so it's kind of nice that I don't lose flowers hardly ever to kids anymore.
Okay. Nice arrangement of planting there. Well, the tall bearded are the later to bloom, and again the most popular.
They are. I'm at
most
about
common.
30% bloom right now, and as you can see down there, I'm going to have a lot of flower
Absolutely.
next week.
Absolutely.
When you're growing iris, when you first see the very beginning of a stalk, such as right here,
With the buds there.
you don't even have to see the bud. You can see it starting to swell up. You can, and right there's one. Right there's a perfect example
Just
of it.
coming out.
That means that you'll have a bloom stalk in approximately 10 days.
And this group of iris, or this class, doesn't look like what I would think of as a bearded iris. What class do we have here?
This class is the miniature tall iris.
Miniature tall. That sounds kind of like an oxymoron or something.
Well, people from the 30s and 40s would more recognize them as a table iris.
Okay.
They were bred for floral arranging, and they have the most stringent requirements for registration of all the iris. The combined size of the flower across it and height-wise cannot exceed 6 inches. The stem should be the size of a pencil or smaller, preferably S-shaped, and they must have a good aroma or no aroma. Scent is very important if you're going to have it sitting on your table to eat.
Absolutely, yeah, that would make
And
sense.
they're real interesting little iris. They're dainty and they look delicate, but they're very hardy.
Well, they are very small and very floriferous. They seem lots of flowers there.
This is the last variety to pick up the pink coloring. There's just 1 or 2 pinks out in this color range.
Well, and we not only have different species, different classes and sizes of iris, but there are also a lot of different coloring patterns and different types of coloring with the iris that have particular names. Could you explain some of those?
Okay. This is the easiest to understand. Everything on this except the beard is one color.
Okay.
Sometimes even the beard is that color. That's called a self.
Okay, all one color, pretty much.
All one color is a self. And it can be yellow or white or pink or whatever, but it's all self.
All right.
This is my favorite color pattern. You have a band of color with a different base in the center. You have little fine dotting in the coloring. And that can be in any sets of colors. And that pattern is called placata.
Placata, okay.
And this is a bitone. They're both shades of the same color. There's just a little peach in the upper part and there's peach in the bottom part.
Okay, bitone.
This is a bicolor. The top is white, the falls are orchid. It's just what it says, 2 colors.
Okay, what's the main difference between bitone and bicolor?
The bitone, they have to be from the same color family.
Okay.
And they actually both of these could be bicolors because this one doesn't have as much peach in it as it usually does.
I
But you
see.
can see the peach midrib on it.
Okay,
But,
slight color difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
This color pattern with a light top and blue falls is a neglecta. Now it can be shades of blue or purple. And it can be from almost white to almost black in the 2 tones, and it still would be in that color description.
So the blues and purples are neglectas.
Neglectas.
Okay.
I don't know why neglecta, but that's what it is.
That's what it's called. Okay.
And your yellow and red, 2 colors, is a variegata.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that is a yellow and red.
Yellow and red, and a little bit of maybe a coppery color in there as well.
Okay. And it can be from a dark red, maroon. Sometimes the yellow is just barely yellow, and it'd be almost brown. It still would be called that.
Okay. Variegata.
That's just a different color family than the other. And this one is a blend.
The blend, all right.
It's not any one color. You can see there's some gold on the outer edge of this. There's some kind of bluish on it.
And then gold again.
Then there's gold. And then there's some green and blue and yellow in this top part. They're just all see, because it has an actual edge on it. Different. And see, can you see the sparkling in it?
Yeah.
It's called diamond dusting.
Diamond dusting.
Some iris have it and some don't.
That's really showy.
Diamond dusting is only effective in sunlight, it seems to be. You take them into the show bench and it doesn't show up.
So it doesn't really matter. Well, I think the self is the easiest one to remember. It's one color in and of itself.
One color, and it can be any one color.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go look at some of the breeding work that you're working on, Ann.
Okay.
Well, Ann, I think from talking to you, the funnest part about growing iris are the hybridizing work that you're doing.
I really enjoy it.
Okay.
And it's a good hobby. It's not terribly expensive, and every year when you have a new seedling bloom, it's a real thrill because with the 48 chromosomes, there's over 1 million different possibilities from each cross.
Okay, and looking at this big bed of iris here, they're all so colorful, and I'm sure they all have an interesting name. Is that right?
No, they don't even have a name. They just have numbers that tell me who the parents were, because these are all my seedlings.
These are all your babies?
These are my babies.
Wow, these are beautiful, and you're doing a fantastic job here, and I know that you're awfully satisfied with some of the crosses that you come up with, but other times you throw them away.
Yes, it was the hardest thing I ever did was throw away my first baby. But I learned to be a little more objective and get rid of the one. If it's not as good as what's on the market, there's no point in keeping it.
Okay.
And unless you think there's some hybridizing potential with it, you might keep it for another year or two and see. But most of them will go out in the pasture in the compost pile somewhere.
Okay. Well, here you were telling me a little bit earlier, and tell me about these plants, and I can see that there are subtle differences. And these are all related?
They're 4 sisters out of the same seed pod. The mother plant was tall bearded, and the one I took the pollen from was a dwarf. And so I got intermediates.
Intermediates, okay.
As you can see, they're blooming in the intermediate side. That one's the darkest. This one's the lightest.
Yeah, there's just a range of color here.
This one has kind of what they call a belly stripe on it. And this is a little more classic placata.
Okay.
It has a white beard. Some of them have a bluish beard. And they're all different, although they're similar.
Right.
And
It's interesting to see that genetic variability.
Here is one that shows you even more. There are 3 pinks, and whatever color this is going to be, it looks like it's going to be.
Oh wow. Oh, a little bit of purple, and these are all
a violet brown, and
Look at
they're
that.
all sisters.
Look how different that is.
Out of the same seed pod.
So endless possibilities.
Yeah.
Well, right over here, you were really excited earlier because
I was.
You had one that just opened today.
Yes, every morning I'd come out to see what new baby decided to bloom, and this baby is kind of what I was looking for. It has horns.
Horns.
One of the parents was horned.
Okay, what's a horn?
See this projection at the end of the beard?
Uh-huh.
That's a horn.
Wow.
That's a space age iris.
Okay.
And they come with horns, spoons, or flounces.
Okay. The blue one out front, which one is that?
That is called Announcement.
Okay.
And it has a flush of pink to the blue, and it has actual spoons, or actually almost a flounce. It's a spoon because it's cupped and turns upward.
Okay.
There's also occasionally a reverse spoon that turns downward. Flounces are usually a little bit wider, but that one can spoon or flounce, either one.
Truly bizarre. So, Ann, have you ever registered one of your hybrids?
Yes, I have one that I think is real nice. It's registered and named Lady Laree.
Okay. And how long ago did you come up with that?
I did the cross about 7 years ago. I registered after it was 2 years old in '99, but I didn't introduce it to commercial market until 2002.
Okay. Very attractive cannon, Lady Laree.
Yeah. And,
well, Ann, I sure appreciate you showing us your iris garden and giving us all this information. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for coming out. Come again. Might have something else blooming next time.